Welcome back to the Wasteland, my friends. In today's video, we will be going over my heavy build in Fallout 76. This build is perfect if you want an extremely tanky, high damage, and low maintenance build. If you want to skip over everything, I have my build displayed on a character planner website, and the link is in the description. But if you wish to see the entire build, stay here. As someone who has played a dedicated heavy build for over 650 levels, I do know what I'm talking about, to a certain degree. Now before we begin, you need to know that in Fallout 76, damage reduction is key in defense, as damage resistance has diminishing results the higher up it gets. So for this build, I use Power Armor, which has an inherent 42% damage reduction. On top of this, I use Emergency Protocols, which adds another 50% damage reduction. Furthermore, my Power Armor is Overeaters, which gives a total of 30% damage reduction when fully fed and hydrated. Now, this doesn't mean I'm completely immune to damage, but it does give me insane protection with this build. I recommend using your favorite Power Armor. For me, that's T51, but you can use anything, as the way this build works, you won't need to worry about having a high damage resistant Power Armor. For buffs, the only thing I use is Bloodied, Public Teams, Food, Water, and Pemmican. You don't need Pemmican, but because I have so much, I love to use it, as it gives 8 Endurance, which is an excellent buff. When it comes to mutations, the only ones I don't have are Talons and Herbivore. My base special stats with Legendary Strength and Intelligence, all the way maxed up for an additional +5, are 15 Strength, 3 Perception, 14 Endurance, 5 Charisma, 11 Intelligence, 11 Agility, and 7 Luck. My legendary perks are Legendary Intelligence, Sizzling Style, which gives 200 fire resistance, Power Armor Reboot, which gives a 40% chance of not being knocked or killed, and gaining full health instantly, Electric Absorption, which means energy attacks have a 20% chance to heal you and recharge your fusion core, Legendary Strength, and Taking One for the team, which makes enemies take 40% damage after attacking you. If you don't use a heavy incinerator, you can switch out the Sizzling Style perk for whatever you want. I'd recommend Funky Duds. But everything else is essentially a must-have for this build, unless you want to switch around the legendary special stats. Moving on to my normal perks, I have Barbarian, Bandolier, Arms Keeper, Heavy Gunner, Lock and Load, Expert Heavy Gunner, Master Heavy Gunner, Traveling Pharmacy, and Blocker. For the strength perks, you can see that I only use one rank of each gunner, and that's because the first rank gives you plus 10%. Now, when you go on to all the way maxing it, it's a max of 20%, but it uses 3 points. Now, you can use 3 points and just use the first rank of each and get plus 30%. So that's what I went with, and then I went with Barbarian to give me some more damage resistance. You honestly don't need that one. You could switch that out for something else, because after a certain point, like really high, let's say level 300 or 400 damage resistance, after that it starts to get really less and less and less useful. So having 800 is just overkill. Having 1,000, which is what you can get to if you use some perks in exchange, you really don't need them. The damage reduction you have is going to be plenty fine, but I just like to do it, just to be a little overkill, to be tankier. You really don't have to. So Lock and Load is just going to make your heavy weapons reload faster. That's really helpful. And then Blocker, you're going to need Blocker. Don't get rid of Blocker. The full rank is you take 45% less damage from your opponent's melee attacks. You're going to want that. Now when it comes to perks like Bandolier, Arms Keeper, and Traveling Pharmacy, as well as Through Hiker and all the ones that reduce weight of items, you don't have to have those. You can switch them out. Maybe you don't carry as much guns as me, you don't carry as much ammo or chems. You don't have to use those. I use them because I'm an Overeaters build, so food weighs. I use a lot of ammo, so the ammo is going to weigh me down, and I love to have a lot of guns. If you have legendary effects that reduce those weights, or you just don't carry as much as I do, you're not going to need those perks, and you can free them up for something else. Or if you're just low level and you don't need to worry about that, you can kind of modify this build for you. Moving on, we can go to our perception perks. I have Concentrated Fire. That's when I want to use VATS. I really just don't often, but if I want to use VATS for like a daily of Crippling Limb, I have Concentrated Fire for that. Grenadier, because I love my explosives to just blow up everything, and a bigger explosive radius, more enemies are getting hit. On Endurance, I went with Starch Jeans. You need that if you have mutations. Radical, the more rads I get, the more strength I get, which just helps me, buff my build a little bit more, give me a little more carry weight, especially because I am a Bloodied build. And then I have Thirst Quencher. Thirst Quencher is nice. It gives you extra AP based on your endurance. Through Hiker makes your food and drinks weigh way less, so you're going to need that. And then the next thing I have is Rejuvenated. You gain increased benefits from being well fed or hydrated. Again, that's going with Overeaters. If you're not doing Overeaters, your build is going to be way less tanky, but still decent. And then I have natural resistance, increased elemental resistance based on endurance while not diseased. What does that mean? That means cryo, poison, and fire. Those are all very, very nice to have resistances to, because those things will always kill you. They go right through your damage resistance, and they really can screw up your damage reduction. Your damage reduction is very great, but having damage resistance is also important. Next up, we have Ironclad. I like to use it at 2 stars. At 2 stars, armor provides 20% more protection, double if wearing a matching set. So your armor is going to provide 40% more protection when you're wearing a matching set at 2 points, but if you use 3 points or 3 stars, whatever you want to call it, it will offer 50% more protection. So that's pretty damn good, and I like to use it for that. But I'm only going to use 2. That way I can mix it with some Life Giver. Next, we have Fireproof. You take 45% less damage from explosions and flame attacks. I'm sure you all know what this is. If you haven't been using this, it's pretty much used on every single build, and I recommend you putting it on immediately. Next up, we have Life Giver. It gives you more HP per endurance. So if you have a lot of endurance, you're going to have a lot more health. Very useful, especially when bloodied, because it gives you just a little bit more health to work with, and just makes it a little easier. Over in Charisma, we have Strange in Numbers. Positive mutation effects are 25% stronger if teammates are mutated too. You're just going to want that. It's so good. That's very, very, very helpful. Over in an Inspirational, you gain more XP while on a team based on your Charisma. Now, for me and my power armor, it's going to give me around 14% XP. That's pretty good. Over in Tenderizer, each attack makes your target take increased damage. Very helpful. Travel Agent, you pay 30% fewer caps while fast traveling. That's just because I want to save money. In Intelligence, I have Nerd Rage maxed out. While below 20% health, gain 40 damage resistance. Not really great. 20% damage, very great. And 15% action point regeneration. So that's pretty good. In Demolition Expert, my explosives do 60% damage at full rank. Stabilized in Power Armor, heavy guns gain excellent accuracy and ignore 45% armor. That is a necessity if you have Power Armor and heavy guns and you don't want to use anti-armor on your weapons. And then I also have batteries included. Energy weapon ammo weighs 90% less, so I can actually walk around. Agility, I have Action Boy, rank 3. Action points regenerate 45% faster. Adrenaline, I gain plus 10%, max 60% damage for 30 seconds per kill. Duration refreshes with kills. So if I kill 6 guys, that's 60% more damage, and every time I kill someone, I get to keep that bonus for 30 seconds, and it refreshes when I kill them again. Next up, we have Dodgy. Avoid 30% of incoming damage at the cost of 30 action points per hit. So you pair that with, a lot of action point perks like I have, and, just high agility, and you're just going to be tanking a lot of damage. That's an avoidance of 30% incoming damage. In Luck, we have Class Freak. The negative effects of your mutations are reduced by 75%. I have that at rank 3 because it's just very helpful. I also have Bloody Mess, rank 3. 15% bonus damage means enemies may explode into a gory red paste. That's cool, but just 15% bonus damage is insane. Then we have Ricochet, gain a chance to deflect ranged attacks based on luck. That is just another avoidance of damage. Super helpful to have, and it makes a nice ping, ping, ping when they shoot at you and it just bounces off. It's like you're wearing Power Armor, so if you think about it lore-wise, you're going to have a lot of Ricochets standing in a giant metal suit like that. On top of all this, my Power Armor has a few miscellaneous legendaries that help reduce weapon weight, as well as add a few special stats. The weapons I use for this build is the Holy Fire, a Heavy Incinerator that's bloodied, as well as, the MG42s, which I can't remember what they're called. They're just called like the LMGs or some basic stuff like that. So I use the MG42, the Holy Fire, Heavy Incinerator, as well as a Plasma Caster. These are all bloodied and vampires. The only one that's actually vampires is the Holy Fire. Everything else is just bloodied with some explosive and all that good stuff. So really, use whatever weapons you want. I prefer bloodied because you don't really need vampires with this build. If you want to be just unkillable, then yeah, use vampires. Folks, that's going to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope I described everything in a way that you understand. And I hope you like to use this build, and if there's anything you want to recommend changing or doing differently, any of that, please comment down below. I want to see what you guys have for your heavy builds, what power armors you use, all that, because you can change a lot of things in this build, and I hope you do, because that's the whole point of Fallout, is to make it your own. So please do that down below. Keep it respectful and civil, and with all of that, thank you so much for watching. If you want more videos like this, you know where to find me. I'm going to make more builds. As well as I make lots of lore videos. So if you want to know the lore of what your character's build is and all that, come to me. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching. May the Wasteland treat y'all with peace and prosperity.